But the point here is use what tools work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, truly, right? I mean, going analog on some of these things allows you to kind of really focus and be in the moment, I think, which is kind of critical.
Okay.
So,
Introduce ourselves.
yeah, we'll introduce ourselves
Oh.
first.
I am Zachary. I was born in Copperfield, which is like the Cypress Fairbanks area, and now I live in Spring Branch.
Great. All right. And my name is Jordan Carswell, and I consider myself a Houstonian. We're from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I remember we came in right after a hurricane, and my mom, as we came in, she had a Dallas Cowboys hat and an Oilers hat. And I didn't know anything about the Houston Oilers, but I looked at it and said, well, I guess I'm in Houston now, so I'll be Houston.
Good for you.
And I've identified ever since. I live out in the Katy area now.
I'm Krista. I was born and raised in Sugar Land, Texas, and I've been here pretty much my entire life. I went to school in Georgia and then came back, and now I work in Aldine as a UX designer.
Nice.
So our persona was something that we kind of changed around at the beginning. And so originally we had Tina, who's somebody who lived outside of who moved out of the third ward. But after, we had a really good opportunity to have somebody who is really dealing with the issues and working in the community in the third ward, Alprentice Banks. And as we began to talk to him, we realized that, maybe Tina's little brother, Patrick, or Pookie, as he's known, is maybe the more important, person maybe to be thinking about and focusing on. And so Patrick is 13 years old. He lives with his grandmother in the third ward. He's in middle school. He's at that kind of critical age where he's trying to figure out if the things that when he was a littler kid he thought he could do, if he's really going to be able to do. He's looking at older kids in the neighborhood, and he's seeing some of the choices they're making. They're telling him, about some of the things that they're doing that he doesn't, that he used to think maybe was not anything he would be interested in, but now he's beginning to think that maybe those are the choices that he's got to make. He's at school, but he's having trouble reading. He tries to go home and do his homework, but there's gunfire, there's stuff going on that makes him sometimes go and sleep in the bathroom. So it's leading him to have things that we would know as PTSD and emotional issues, but when he looks around in the neighborhood and sees other guys, he's learned that you cover that up, you don't talk about it, and you just kind of, try to get through the day and the week. So one weekend, there's some guys that have been in the neighborhood and done some other events that he's been invited to, and they're having some kind of affair or something. And so he attends it because he knows some other guys that are going to be there. And while he's there, one of his friends comes up to him and says, hey man, did you see they've got a 3D printer down there in one of those tents? And he's like, I don't even know what that is. He says, man, you got to come down here and see it. And so he goes down there, and there's a group of guys, and they've got a banner up there that says, make the future. And he looks in there, and he's expecting to see, some of the tech guys that have come in and run workshops at their school, and they don't look like him, and they don't seem to be able to, talk or have the same experiences as him. Instead, he sees kids just a little bit older than him that are running the 3D printers, that are talking to people. They've got shirts that are branded on. They've got, other kinds of gear and things. And so he gets curious and goes in and starts talking to them. And, they tell him, hey man, you could be in this program if you want to learn how to do this. These are the kinds of things that we do, and we, there's different things. If you're not interested in this, maybe you're interested in videography. Maybe you're interested in fashion even. Maybe you're interested in, coding. And so he's like, yeah, man, maybe, we'll see, maybe. And so the next week he finds out that a kid he knows is doing it, that he made the commitment, he's doing it. And so he says, well, maybe I'll go with you if you go over there and just kind of check it out. And so he gets there and he checks it out. And he sees that there's a number of things, number of opportunities for him. The first thing that he finds out is that, hey, these guys aren't telling me what to do. They're asking me, what do I want to do? And they've got some ideas to help me kind of figure it out. But, you know, I've actually got some older mentors and the students that they've already gone through some of this program, and now they're the ones that are talking to me as peer mentors. And so they also talk to me and they find out that there's some basic needs that I've got that are not being met at home. And when they talk to me, they understand that, hey, maybe, you know, there's some things that you need to have somebody that you can talk to about as well. And so they give some referrals and some other kinds of things that are helpful. And, you know, but then they focus on what they want me to accomplish if I was to join this program. And so, you know, in addition to being introduced to personal mentors, you know, they help me to establish some long-term goals. They know that maybe I don't know everything about what options I might have, but they begin to get some idea about what I want to do. They've got workshops and things to follow up with to help me develop those interests out a little bit. And then they've got this competition at the end of the year. I don't know anything about this, but they tell me, you know, if I can kind of figure out what I'm interested in, that they've got people that will help me learn, you know, the skills or get some experience in these areas. And so I get interested. I'm kind of surprised to find out that I'm good at coding. I've never been good at math. I didn't think that would be something I could do, but I can code, it seems like. And so they connect me with some older kids who know how to do it. Houston Community College has some mentors that come over and work with me. And I found out that, you know, hey, I finally get a team of people, and I'm going to be the coder on this team. And Jesse Bounds comes out and announces this competition that's coming up. And it's for the Make the Future program. And so I get, you know, involved with this team. I'm up there all the time. I feel like it's a place that I can go. They've always got stuff to eat. My friends are there. I'm making a lot of new relationships. I'm feeling more comfortable with these guys. I get through the competition, and you know, on the other side of that, they tell me, you know, I think, well, is that it? Is that all I get to do? But I know that now I get to go and become a mentor in the program. And so on the other side of that, you know, I find myself a year or 2 years later in the role of that guy that I met, and I'm the guy there at the event, you know, the next time. And you know, all along the way, we've had opportunities. We've had guys that have driven us where we needed to go. They've shown us other spots out in the community in Houston that I never knew existed. I went to this place called TMCX, and I saw the stuff that they're doing there. I found out about programs at some of the colleges and universities in the neighborhood. You know, I felt like I had a place that had kind of given me some sense, you know, of what to do. And so one of the cool things about it was they didn't just, you know, I don't just have to talk about those things. I can show you what I've done. I have a portfolio that's got all the accomplishments on it. I can show you, you know, what my goals are and how I'm helping myself to achieve those goals. And I've gotten, you know, more resilient. You know, now I know there's a lot of stuff that still goes on in my neighborhood, but I know I've got people that have got my back, and I've been given some, you know, skills, you know, to be able to, you know, deal with it. Something called mindfulness that enables me to, you know, kind of get up above everything and get more control over how I feel about things. And let's see. And so now I'm at a point where they're telling me that TXRX has got this program, that it doesn't stop there, that this program's only for 13 to 15-year-olds, but TXRX has got a program for juniors and seniors, and I can participate in that. And they'll actually let me take this, you know, even further. And this guy, Robbie Brombot, keeps coming around, and he keeps telling me that HCC has got programs for me, you know, to continue and going on. And he keeps telling me I can get in the small business program if I want to, and he's got money and resources, and so I feel like I can see the future now. And the most interesting thing is that in the period of time this has happened, at the edge of our community, there was this thing that I kept hearing about called the Tech Center. And these guys were going to come in and they were going to do all this stuff. And I remember seeing that building, and hearing about what they were doing, and I remember thinking, that has nothing to do with me. I don't know what that is, I don't understand it, but now I know exactly what it is, and I feel like, man, I might be able to have a startup in that building. You know, I'm going to have a startup in that building, and I'll be able to actually, you know, stay in this community and actually contribute to it, and be a leader, you know, that is able to, you know, the gentrification is not something that scares me. You know, now I know how to take advantage of these opportunities, and I know how to help my community take advantage of these opportunities. So, that's my journey.
It's amazing, there's a group, you guys are pressing it, there's a group in the 3rd Ward called Workshop Houston.
We got a list of potential partners down here
And
that
they
are on
would,
it.
man, this is just right up their alley. They're doing exactly, they have a vision very similar to what you.
So what we saw is that there's all of these organizations and programs that are already put in set, but there are younger kids in the 3rd Ward who aren't even exposed to this. They would have never thought to even approach such long-term goals. And we found an opportunity to reach those kids and show them like, hey, there's more to than just what you see, to what these bad influences around you are saying there only is. So by having by having workshops and events in their local area that are organized by people from their own community who went potentially through this program themselves, it becomes that, hey, I can become interested in this, and I can be the one who's facilitating this and showing and bringing back to my community. So it's we're trying to just go towards those younger individuals and show them like, hey, there's more, because what we saw is that people are not reaching that younger target audience.
Yeah, that middle school area. One thing that, you know, that I've seen in the position that I'm in is there's a lot of elementary school programs, there's a lot of high school programs, but right there in the middle, there are some things, but they're not. We've had a lot of groups come to this building, and a lot of them, what they ask is, could you do that? You know, because it's not really necessarily being done. And TXRX, we had a chance to talk to Summer, and she talked about, you know, kind of that they have some issues with selecting, like having candidates that are ready for their program. I think that their selection process and getting students that can kind of understand maybe and are able to participate fully in it.
Aware of what's available. Really, we were trying to focus and hone in on making these resources accessible and making the vision, as you said, clear and legible, showing them that there is a future, shining a light on these different potentialities. And along with the mentorship program, we kind of had the idea that we could, or Make the Future as a movement, as a group, could also network with all of these other resources that are here, and this could act as like a referral directory, as a living archive, a living database that we could recommend that people check out at any point in their journey.
Right. So you answered one question that I had during the presentation, which was how you do this, and I think you just said mentorship, which answers that, just because if this is a program that advocates mentoring, that's great, because I don't know where all of those resources are organized in one place where people could go. If one were to Google community resources, you wouldn't get a list like that for a localized group of Houstonians, whether they're middle schoolers, and I agree that's a critical age, and also vulnerable age for young folks who are, coming of age and having enough nerve to make some decisions. I'm speaking as a parent now, that is a critical time and a great opportunity, and one wonders whether part of the resource is actually a partner for a program like this, whether HISD would be willing to allow for some kind of advocacy within the Complete Communities structure working with the city, with mentors in the schools, and how to help them know that there may be some programming out there if you're 13-year-old and at home with your grandmother.
Exactly, and what we would want to address with that is reaching out to those who might be talented but might not care to actually participate, and then having them self-direct and always like having check-ins with them.
Great.
So having, with this key age, it's that they're trying to figure out what am I going to do, what do I like, what are my interests at all, or what kind of interests are there, I don't even know. So by partnering with all these different organizations, having all of those resources, we can help them be like, hey, you're interested in computer science? Well, we can help guide you there. There's workshops, there's events, and there's even workshops that are held by people who are just a few years older than you, who went through the program. And if that's not something you're interested in, that's fine, because we have other things, and we can help guide you with that, with the mentor, with the different available events that we have. So really letting them explore and having someone who knows what it's like to be in a position to help guide them.
You also have local churches there, which I know from Third
Yeah.
Ward is a very vital part of that community, and they too have programs like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, Brownies and the Weeblos, and so all that kind of nurturing community, it's really interesting.
And we tried to, I think, do it all originally, where we were just kind of conceiving of all the things, and we realized there's people that are already doing this. I mean, Al Prentice, is one of those individuals, and so that we had a lot of insight from him into this, and so we realized that like the venue in for this is some of these organizations that already exist.
So another benefit on the after side is that HCC has a really strong dual credit program with HISD, and students can take college level classes while they're in high school, and they can get a certificate, they can get an associate's degree, and that puts them on a pathway. But and it's free for the students. But one of the barriers that we've identified is that sometimes students don't identify early enough that this is a pathway that's open to them and that they're interested in it. So that's just the right age to get them interested, so that then when they start high school, they can start taking those dual credit classes. A lot of times they don't get into it until it's not too late, but
Yeah.
this lets them get further down the path.
I've taught in that program.
Have you? Okay.
And a lot of the kids are lost. And some of the school systems are better than others in capturing the kids early. ALEAF does a really great job at that.
Yeah.
And the kids that I saw success with through the HISD programs were focused on technology. So I taught mathematics for technology, and so the kids who are interested in welding and whatnot, it helped them. But my big question, which I think this Make the Future is great, is this near-peer mentorship idea, and who would organize the near-peer mentors, so that are they recruited out of these programs and then got together as a cohort who in turn work with the young people? How do these connections occur?
We discussed two potential models for it. One is we already have a set of built-in mentors in Houston Community College. I named Robbie, I don't think he's here, but he has an army of entrepreneurial, technologically savvy, innovative mindset, students that because like to jumpstart, right? Because you need that first group that can build up the group that then potentially makes it, self-sustaining. And then the other was working with community groups that already exist and maybe are engaged, and seeing if they have any people that have already bought into their programs that could be like a train the trainer kind of a thing, where you get them started. I mean, for us, the critical things that were mentioned by Al Prentice, and then we had an opportunity to talk with one of his friends who, Al Prentice didn't grow up in Third Ward, but this gentleman that we talked to did. And he said, you've got to provide something that replaces the family, the home family, that environment where you have a place to go, where you feel like you can relax a little bit and be yourself, talk about problems, that kind of stuff. I mean, everybody needs that, right? But there's some things going on in some of these, communities where that's not there in an extreme way. And so he thought it was critical to make sure that you had a place, and it really started with a place and people. And this other stuff is what you want to get to, but you have to have that as the foundation so that you can do the other stuff. Those had to go. You couldn't just come in and do workshops and leave. That wouldn't be a lasting impact that way. So I think that's the reason for some of these features.
So your scenario actually brings front and center another important aspect of problem solving is knowing your users, right? So we've focused in on the direct beneficiary of all these programs, but the other important point here is that there's a whole other set of stakeholders that are second tier primary users, whether it's family members that may or may not be supportive, or people that have to get that person to jump that hurdle to joining your program, and that become an important part of this picture.
Yeah, that was mentioned. That's kind of a critical area.
I think HCC is hosting an event next weekend, which is the Black Girls Code Houston chapter for girls between 7 and 17. And so that will be next weekend. So that, those types of chapters exist all over.
Yeah.
Great.
I was just gonna say, I love this idea too. I used to teach 8th grade at a low-income school, so it's so true. Like, this is the perfect age to hit this, because when kids don't get these opportunities in middle school, it's too late by the time that they get to 9th grade, and they have more programs in high school because they've already failed everything in 8th grade, and then have to take remedial classes and can't take the extracurriculars in high school, and it's just a big mess. So like, I love the idea of reaching out to them in middle school. I think, when I was teaching, I would have loved to back clubs like this, and a lot of teachers in those school systems really are passionate about it. And the key thing is, we don't have time to write grants to get the equipment and everything that we need for those clubs, so getting help with that would be so key. And food and transportation, because a lot of those kids will stay after school every single day until the late bus runs if you can give them food and get them a ride home. So I think, I don't know, that's just another thing to think about, like helping enable teachers to participate in those programs, because like, they really want to. It's just like, they don't have time to like get all the equipment and get a club like that going.
I want to just commend you and the Oasis team, and I know how the GYMS team, the passion that came through you for your personas, for the people you were looking at. That was just cool.
Sure. Thank you.